Welcome to Nerd Social. I'm Nathan. I'm going to run down the Easter eggs, references, and things that we noticed in the most recent episode of WandaVision, episode 6. Unlike our video from last week, link above, I'm not going to go through every single thing that we noticed, just the most important things to understand the episode. So comic book references, television references, and most importantly, the things that we noticed about the characters that can shed some light on the mysteries behind the show. There are links to each chapter below if you want to skip ahead. Alright, let's get into it. Starting off with TV references, the opening credits and the theme music is very similar to the opening credits for the show Malcolm in the Middle.
You're not the boss of me now. You're not the boss of me now. You're not the boss. WandaVision! Don't try to fight the chaos. Don't question what you come and as you go. What is it so today? The way who's coming? You're not so big. Life is unfair.
And the layout of the house is very similar to the one in Malcolm in the Middle as well, with the open concept living room slash kitchen slash laundry room that you started to see in a lot of houses in the 90s. While this is all pretty cool because Malcolm in the Middle was an awesome show, one thing to note here is that while the first season of Malcolm in the Middle was probably shot in 1999, the first episode didn't debut until January 9th in the year 2000. The next thing we noticed were several TV format things that were very reminiscent of the 90s. One thing is a technical detail that we missed in our Easter egg video from last week. The aspect ratio has changed from the 4:3 from the earlier eras to 16:9. While it might seem a bit early for this size format, it is actually historically correct because HD televisions in widescreen format started to be produced in Japan in the 1980s. So the next really cool period-specific technical detail that we caught was the switch over from the multi-camera setup of the earlier eras to the single camera setup, and also tracking shots following the subject. The other thing that became common during this time is comedic cutaways to past events or imagined events.
That's Orcosaurus Rex.
We also got a lot of fourth wall breaking speaking direct to camera during this time.
Magical holiday, all about family, friends, and the thrill of getting to be someone else for a day.
It was a key feature of Malcolm in the Middle, but it happened on other shows too. For example, Will Smith used to do it from time to time on The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Now on to comic book references. First thing we notice in the order of appearance is Billy dressed in a homemade version of his Wiccan costume from the comics. Then we get Wanda in a somewhat better cosplay version of her Scarlet Witch costume from the comics. Then Vision is forced to wear a somewhat cheesy luchador version of his costume from the comics. More on that later. Then Pietro changes himself and Tommy into somewhat accurate Quicksilver costumes from the comics. And speaking of this change, Pietro uses his Quicksilver super speed powers from the comics throughout the episode. In this episode, we also see the twins' awesome powers from the comics as well. First, Tommy with his super speed like his uncle, and then Billy with the magic like his mom, except his color is blue instead of red. Hey, just wanted to pause to say if you're enjoying the breakdown, please like the video below, it really helps the channel. Alright, back to it. The last significant comic book reference of note is when Darcy finds Monica's test results later in the episode.
Hayward has your blood work. You've gone through the boundary twice already, Monica. The energy inside has rewritten your cells.
As I noted in previous breakdowns, Monica is a superhero in the Marvel Comics, first going by the name Captain Marvel, then Spectrum, then Photon. Next, this episode had a commercial to interpret just like the other episodes, but it didn't have the actors that were in those episodes, and it was far more disturbing than those. Speculating about what this commercial means may spoil things in the future, but we will note a few things. One of the two characters in this commercial, one of them is a shark, and this shark says something very interesting.
I remember hungry. I used to be like that all the time.
What did you do?
Snacked on yo magic, bro.
Moving on to important things that we notice about characters. 2/3 into the season, it's obvious that Hayward is going to be one of the main antagonists to our heroes inside and outside of the anomaly.
I see. And which one of you is the sassy best friend?
There's no time for you to diminish your colleagues.
Captain Rambo, you have become an impediment to this mission. Maybe it's a good thing you weren't here when your mother died. Clearly, you don't have the stomach for this job. Get her off my base. Now. All of them.
And clearly, Hayward was traumatized, understandably, by the snap, and he has developed a deep antipathy towards superpowered people.
Constantly advocating on behalf of superpowered individuals. You have no idea what it was like. What it took to keep the lights on.
So finally, in light of Darcy's discovery on Hayward's computer and the fact that the program is referring to Vision as an asset, it's obvious that Hayward is more interested in reacquiring Vision than he is in helping the town or stopping Wanda.
Guys, Hayward figured out a way to look through the boundary.
And you didn't share it with the group. Wait, why is Hayward tracking Vision?
I don't know, this is all I can access so far.
These Hayward must have an accurate head count by now.
Mm.
And some sense of their well-being. Are they alive?
So moving on, Monica, Jimmy, and Darcy don't have a lot to do in this episode besides the things that Darcy found out about Hayward, but there is one thing that we noticed about Monica. Her reaction to finding out that the anomaly has changed her cells on a molecular level.
Seen enough lab results to last me a lifetime. Cells metastasizing, cells in remission. I know what Wanda is feeling, and I won't stop until I help.
First, as Monica says, she's probably empathizing with Wanda because of the profound and fresh grief that she's feeling over the loss of her mother. Because of that grief, both of them have engaged in reckless behavior over the course of the series, but because Monica doesn't have superpowers, her reckless behavior really only puts her life in danger. Moving on to Vision, besides the truly horrible things that he found during his investigation.
Are those your children? Are you waiting for something?
We thought that there were two things of particular note during his journey. First, the exchange at the beginning of his interaction with Agnes.
Lost.
In the town you grew up in?
Regardless of what goes on in the rest of this interaction, it is curious, as Vision notes, that Agnes will get lost in the town that she grew up in, if she is a resident of Westview, just like everyone else trapped in this anomaly. If you recall from previous episodes, Agnes and Dottie are the only two people that we've seen on screen that haven't been identified by the people outside the hex. The other important thing to note is Vision's last words when he thinks he's about to die. Even though he can't remember his life as an Avenger, he's a hero to his last breath. Moving on to Pietro, we found that there were two things of particular note in his interactions with Wanda. First, he's deflecting a lot of her questions.
Skin thing.
You're testing me.
No, I'm not.
Hey, it's cool.
Why do you look different?
You tell me.
What happened to your accent?
What happened to yours?
It's also clear that he's trying to gain her trust and pump her for information about her powers.
Where were you hiding all these kids up till now?
What?
I assume they were all just sleeping peacefully in their beds.
You don't think it's wrong?
Are you kidding? I'm impressed. How'd you even do all this? You can talk to me.
Finally, we thought there were a few things of particular note about Wanda. First, well, she's obviously suspicious of Pietro because the dude showed up looking and acting differently. She's also really appreciative of his presence.
I think Mom and Dad would have loved it.
Yeah. I think they would have.
Second, while Wanda might not know how she created the hex,
I don't know how any of this started in the first place.
I don't know how I did it. I only remember feeling completely alone.
she's nevertheless fiercely protective of the life that she's created inside of it in her family.
Don't sweat it, sis. It's not like your dead husband can die twice.
Well, that was everything that we saw that we thought was important. Did we miss anything? Comment down below to let us know. Also, look up for our videos where we're going to discuss this episode in detail and also get into our theories. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe to get more news, reviews, and social justice, social commentary on movies, television, and nerd culture. Bye.